This is the plaintiff, Jonathan Carafino. He says he hired the defendant, who's a lawyer, to represent him on a noise complaint case he had with his neighbor regarding a very noisy air conditioner. The louse took his hard-earned money and never did what he was hired for. After a little digging, he discovered he's done the same thing to other clients and has been reprimanded for it. He's suing for $500, the amount he paid for services never rendered. This is the defendant, Alec Reimer. He says the plaintiff never gave him a chance to finish the job he was hired to do, which was to look over his evidence and write a letter trying to rectify the noisy air conditioning unit at his neighbor's condo. The guy's impatient and erratic and doesn't understand it was taking him time to digest all the material he submitted. Owe him a refund? No way. He's accused of not getting the job done. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $500 for harassment.
All parties, please use your right hand. The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Carafino, you are suing your former lawyer, Mr. Reimer, for $500 that you paid him that, according to you, he has not earned or done anything with. You are counterclaiming against Mr. Carafino for $500 for harassment. Let me hear from you first, Mr. Carafino.
Okay, I've pretty much been through a lot as far as I hired him for an HVAC unit that was making a ridiculous amount of noise.
Your own or someone else's?
No, it was somebody else's, and he was supposed to write a letter to that owner.
Like a neighbor?
Well, it was somebody that was across the way. It was actually below me, but they have a weird setup there in our condominium complex, and so their HVAC unit was literally less than a foot from my bedroom window. Mm-hmm. And that thing was from 1988. Mm-hmm. So it was really old, time to be replaced. And every 2 hours, early in the morning when the defrost cycle would kick in during the winter, I mean, I wouldn't want to make the noise for it because it would be so loud and annoying that
do it.
You'd probably throw a short, just, kind of like that. Mm-hmm. But it would enough to jolt you awake. You'd be like, oh! When you wake up. That's the kind of, so every 2 hours.
Okay, I have the visual.
Sorry, I didn't mean to swear.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
That was just, but
Yep.
Anyway, so I ended up it got so bad, I had to go to emergency room from lack of sleep, or,
Did you ever speak to, out of curiosity, did you ever speak to the neighbor?
No, I actually called the guy who actually owned the unit.
Right, and?
And I sent letters to him, I called him, I told him all about it.
And what was their response?
Just, we're not going to do it. And he had actually.
And what about the homeowners association?
They basically told me that they were powerless to do anything about it. They couldn't force Mr.
That's
Rocco.
not true.
Well,
no, I don't doubt they told you
it
that.
It cost them money.
Right. I don't doubt they said to you they were powerless. I'm just saying that they're not powerless. That's silly. Of course, they have the power to, to figure out if this is true and if there's a nuisance to stop it. But in any event, so how do you meet Mr. Reimer?
Mr. Reimer, I'm an appraiser. And I buy and sell stuff for a living. When people clear out their houses, when somebody dies or somebody's moving, they come to me because I'm an expert in every category of art and antiques and whatever. And he called me to look at his stuff to see, because he was moving, and I didn't really know where he was going, but it didn't really matter at the time. So I looked at his things and I sold them for him. I did the best I could with what he had, because he was in desperate need. So I took it on consignment, sold him the stuff, and then basically gave him half.
Okay.
The way we read a written contract.
And was this a house or an office that was?
This was his house that he used as a home office.
Okay. So tell me what happens. You strike a conversation with him and then you tell him about your HVAC woes, and what happens?
I think that conversation came up why he was I had him come pick up some stuff that I wasn't able to sell of his. So he came to my address and I told him about the problem. And he said, that would drive me insane. I'd do something about that right away. Something about how I would just, I'd kick some or something like that.
Well, no, you're not going to do that, but you are going to go to court maybe. And all right, so go on.
I didn't mean.
Is the problem still persisting, by the way?
Well, very nicely. I think things started working my direction. Just 2 days ago, they replaced the machine.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
I don't have to deal with
All right,
it
but
anymore.
and so how did that happen? Did the owner relent?
I don't know what happened. I did talk to the guy who replaced the HVAC unit.
You just one day you're walking in and someone's replacing the HVAC unit?
Yeah.
Oh, just out of the blue.
Out of the blue. Like, I'm kind of lucky that way.
All right. Well, enough about the sleep problems. Let's talk
Yeah.
about Mr. Reimer. So he says I would do something about that right away. And then what do you two decide? How does it come up with the $500? Tell me about that.
Yeah, the $500 was pretty exact. He pretty much wanted an hour of $250 an hour for labor, and he wanted half of it was supposed to go for reading the letter and the information I
Reading
gave
the
him.
letter?
I gave him like a lot of information.
Meaning
but
what? The letters you had sent to the homeowner?
Everything.
What's that, what is the rest of it? Complaints to the police? What is it?
Oh, like 50 million, not 50 million, but a lot of letters, like probably over 100 letters to property management complaining about the problem.
Okay.
You know, I mean, every bit of information, medical records.
All right. So why are you suing him? What ends up happening here?
Well, I mean, he pretty much he didn't do the job I asked him to do.
What was the job you hired him for the $500?
Well, the verbal contract that we had was pretty much the $500 was for 2 hours. One was to read the stuff, and the other one was to write the letter.
Okay, so he didn't write the letter.
Well, he came to me at some point, and he said, you know, the letter was supposed to be written by that Saturday, and I made it very clear that I was in a desperate situation. It had to be done right away.
And
It was
okay,
written.
and what does he tell you?
He said for whatever reason, he couldn't write it on time or didn't get it done.
Okay.
And I said, okay, let's put on hold for just a second because I need some time to think about what to do here. Between him not writing the letter and the other thing that was really annoying is I'm talking about like the relationship I'm having with him as a lawyer. And the contact was like ridiculous. Like
Meaning?
I couldn't get in touch with him on the phone. It was very difficult to even, all he wanted to do was text, and then when I texted, he didn't answer. If he did answer, it was very rarely, or it was like a 2-line answer or something. So our communication wasn't there, and I was like...
When did you decide I want my money back? In January or later than that?
It was pretty soon, after, because I was getting...
What was he saying was the reason?
I forget the reason he said.
Okay, let's hear from you, Mr. Reimer. Go ahead and talk to me. What happened here?
Morning, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I initially found an ad in the newspaper for Mr. Carafino who said that he sold collectibles. Contacted him. We signed an agreement, a consignment agreement, essentially. Thereafter, he began telling me about this problem that he had. I told him I thought I could help. He sent me emails and gave me a stack of documents, which we just discussed. So I began to review and put together my understanding of what was happening in the case. The first time that there was any real issue, he says there was no communication. I have all of our text messages and the like between one
Can I
another.
see that?
Sure may. You're welcome.
Okay.
So thereafter, as Mr. Carafino stated, I was moving both my home and my office. It was a very sort of tumultuous time for me. And there became a period of time where about 6 weeks I didn't even have an assembled office because it was in moving trucks and long sordid story. But nonetheless, there came a point in April where I was speaking to Mr. Carafino and I told...
April?
Yes, this was the first time that it just really came to a head. And you'll see in the...
But from January to April, what happens? I mean, it's just a letter, right? The letter
Well, there was
writes
a lot of-
itself.
a lot of
I know,
information
I'm
to
looking at
digest.
it. It's all these complaints. They all sound exactly the same. There's 100 of them. That's the one paragraph of the letter. He has written over 100 complaints between the dates of blah, 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 blah. I mean, the letter kind of writes itself, doesn't it?
Yes and no, in my opinion.
How no?
Well, because if you don't understand the intricacies or the parties with whom he's already communicated.
Who are they
and-
going to
and
be? They're
what
going to
their
be the owner of
responses
the
were.
unit and the condo association.
The management company.
Right.
Right, but the problem is the management company has various people. They change
So what? How
personnel
does that
all the
affect
time.
the letter you write, though?
Well, because before I was going to write any letter, I wanted to make sure that I understood all of the players and all of the intricacies that might be
Right, but how's
involved
that going
in
to
the
affect the letter? Really? Come on, I'm a lawyer too, right? And so
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm wondering how
Yes.
it's going to affect the letter. By the way, you're wrong. You did not lose it and ask for a refund in January. I see you in February still sending him stuff or something. I
It
don't
was
know.
April 4th before.
Yeah,
the
so he's right. But that, ironically, I was thinking you were impatient, and he's saying you were way more patient. But all right, so hold on. So go ahead.
So in early April, I came to him. I told him that I had been through a lot in the end of March. It was just with the move, and there was a number of other things going on. I said apologized to him, and I told him that I would be happy to make this right for him within 48 hours. He agreed.
Okay, on February 24th, I see that you send him a text saying, I will be sending the letter out tomorrow or Saturday. He says, okay, great. And then on Monday, he says, I assume you sent the letter off, but I still didn't get a copy. And a few days later, John, please, I'm extremely busy at the moment. I did not forget you. I don't know what that means. Did you send a letter then or didn't? Did you ever send a letter?
Did not.
Okay. Look, if you're really that busy, why don't I just give it to another lawyer? It doesn't seem like you have time to be a lawyer. John, I will and can handle this. A little patience. I've spent quite a bit of time reviewing all the documentation you've provided. I have no doubt you can handle it, but time is really of the essence. Every night I go without being able to sleep. I mean, seriously, how long does it take to write the letter?
Again, Your Honor, you know, I'm just going to.
I know you don't have an office, but so did no one else for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
People work without an office, you know? So.
My office was literally.
Yeah, but you don't need
moving
anything
van.
that's in
So
the boxes.
It made it very difficult.
Dude, you don't need anything that's in the boxes. He gives you this, and I'm going to write the letter right now. Please be advised that I represent Mr. So-and-so. As you are well aware, Mr. So-and-so has been complaining about a problem with a noise violation which violates statute X, Y, and Z. He has made this known to you as the condo association and you, Mr. So-and-so, as the owner. My client is entitled to have peaceful enjoyment of his... I mean, I can write the letter in 2 seconds, and so can you. So really, why didn't you write the letter?
Just as I said, Your Honor, until I was comfortable that
You did nothing of use for him. And if you're not comfortable, I think that what happened is you had other stuff going on. You had other stuff going on and whatever, and then he's on a back burner, which is something that the bar has reprimanded you for, right, before? That you're juggling too much? All right. Well, so you need to think about that. But in the meantime, your lawsuit against him for $500 for harassment. Okay, first of all, there's not even, I don't think your state even has a civil claim for harassment. But let's pretend there is. If there were a civil claim for harassment in your state of Connecticut, let's assume there is, all right? How is it harassment for someone to ask you to give the money back? Tell me about the harassment.
So on April 4th, okay, I essentially fell on my sword with Mr. Carafino. I told him what had gone on. I said, give me 48 hours. I will make this right.
Yeah.
He agreed.
And then what?
Less than 24 hours later, he reneged on that agreement.
Okay, why is it that, like, it's kind of funny because you're patient for January, February, March, April, and then at the end of April, he says, give me 48 hours, you say okay, and then you change your mind. Why did that?
At that point, I just wanted to hire another lawyer because we were having...
No, but what happened to make you change your mind from saying yes to then saying no 24 hours later?
You're right, I was very, very patient, you know. Like,
no, but what happened to make you, what was different in those 24 hours to make you change your mind?
I just thought of all the things, like I thought of every single thing, like the communication, all that stuff, and then finally I just exploded. And I'm like, I do not want to deal with this anymore. And
okay, you're going to need to stop cursing in my courtroom.
I'm sorry.
That is a perfect example.
Yeah, you're just going to need to stop.
I'm very sorry.
Okay, the first time I let it go because I thought you were just super sleep deprived. But now I just think that's how you talk, which is
that's how
fine at a bar, but not in my courtroom.
That's how I think, and I sometimes I can't.
Okay.
The letter had been drafted, and it was given to somebody else for mailing on during the course of what I was doing, and it didn't.
So now you did write the letter.
I did ultimately send a letter. I mean, wrote a letter, but it never got sent, Your Honor.
Please give me 48 hours to need this right. I give you my word as a gentleman. Go ahead and send the letter again. And then he says, without backwards and upside down, your life is right now. I don't think you're going to be of any use to me. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you. You know what? I think you should be returning the $500. But where's the harassment? You wanted me to read lower, right?
Yes.
Okay. Send me back my $500. I'm going to court and fill out the paperwork today. This is April 11th. I'm giving you until this Friday.
It's all the excuses, just one.
I don't have to file any necessary. You were supposed to be making my life easier. This is well, you're not answering him. On April 11th, he sends you something, and then you don't answer. And then on April 17th, he says, you were supposed to make my life easier, but now you've made it more difficult. Lawyers have no ethics. I beg your pardon.
I did this. I meant this lawyer.
Yeah, but you didn't say that. You said lawyers have no ethics.
Can I explain that?
No, you don't. I have no ethics, and now I've got it. Now, I'll just stop. You think I'm that thin-skinned? I'm not that thin-skinned.
The phone has a
Stop
correction.
talking. And I know what autocorrect is, but I'm pretty sure that you meant that by virtue of the other things I've read in this file, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
So now I have to something to get sue to get my money back. What a hassle. It's anything but a gentleman. I'm asking you one last time, send me my... And then, and then on April 22nd, you are such a, I've never even heard that expression. I'm filing the court papers now to sue your blank. I'm going to see if I can get you removed from the bar so you can't be a lawyer anymore, you piece of blank. Listen, one of the things they teach us in lawyer school or thereafter is that, first of all, you should have things in writing. You're supposed to have a retainer agreement in writing that it spells out everything. You didn't do it in this case. Then you've got a guy who's threatening to send you to the bar. Did he end up sending you to the bar?
No.
Okay. Well, you don't know that that's not going to happen tomorrow. But why allow him to stew and explode? What's the $500 to you? To him, it's a matter of principle that he can't sleep. And you know you didn't. You know you failed him. You know that you didn't write the letter that I can write in 2 seconds, and so can you. So if you failed him, why didn't you just send him the money and shut him up? I'm asking you lawyer to lawyer.
Because he got on my nerve at that point.
Yeah, but you don't have the right for him to get on your nerve because he gave you the file in January and it's been 4 months.
When he started acting like...
He didn't do that for 4 months. What are you doing putting stuff like that in writing?
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
but why?
I had to go to the ER. I mean, I'm dying here.
I understand, but say it, forget it, write it, regret it. You write it down. You don't think it's going to come out in court that you're using this profanity every 6 seconds to...
Well, I'm sorry for using profanity.
It's not just a profanity. It's just goofy. Why would you put yourself in writing?
I just think it's justified.
But it's not effective, is it?
No, it's not effective.
No, you're the one that's unbelievable. You did nothing you promised. You took payment for it and did nothing. I gave you a chance, and now he waits he waits 2 months and then writes you another text. I'm going to give you one last chance before I send the U.S. Marshals to your new address and have you served for not sending the letter we agreed upon. And this is after you're saying the letter was already written. So why do you do this to a client? You know, why are you unnecessarily allowing him to stew like this?
Because on the 4th, Your Honor, he claimed that he fired me. And then he started with the vulgarity, he started with the threats. I wasn't going to do anything at that point.
If you want to keep the payment because you did the job, then you have to finish the job whether you like him or not. And instead you're letting...
It wasn't an issue of like, Your Honor.
Well, then it's an issue of...
And I did spend hours.
It's an issue of complying with the rules of ethics that do not allow you to take payment for a service you didn't render. You're apologizing for not rendering it. You're telling him I actually even wrote it. It just didn't get sent. And then in the course of those 3 months, you still don't send it. Return the guy's money. Him trying to get you to pay... Yeah, it's annoying that he curses at you in a text, but it clearly did not upset you or harass you very much because you still didn't send a letter that you claim to have written, which I don't believe you wrote.
He had already
but in
fired
any event,
me.
on your counterclaim against him, 0. On his claim against you, $500 verdict for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
So the plaintiff is going to get his $500 back finally, and the lawyer, Mr. Reimer, just got leveled by the judge for not doing his job. Mr. Reimer, what's your reaction to what the judge just had to say to you? She let you have it.
I don't feel the court allowed me to fully express my position on this case, and the judge made her decision, and I'll respect it.
You don't think she was right that you delayed doing what you were paid to do for months, without sending that letter?
I think the delay was unfortunate. I did discuss it with my client directly. We had a new understanding, and he then reneged on it.
Okay, very good. Well, it wasn't a great day for you in court. The exit's on your left, sir. Sorry about that.
It's all right. You have a good day.
Okay. Mr. Carfino, you are finally going to get your $500 back. It's been quite a trip for you, hasn't it?
Oh, God. I mean, at least it's over now. I mean, I've never seen Judge Milian so upset in my entire life, and I watch a lot of her stuff. She was really upset.
Well, she was upset with him. She was upset with you for your language.
Yep.
You should clean up your mouth a little bit.
You're right. I should. Yeah. And I will.
Okay. Well, very good. All right. All's well that ends well.
Yeah,
you win in
exactly.
court, and you're going to get some sleep at night. Good for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
sir.
you. Yep.
Doug, I got to tell you, 4 months to write a letter seems very unreasonable to me, an unreasonable amount of time. The contract, the implication in every contract like this is that whoever owes a duty to act must do so within a reasonable period of time unless it's specified in the contract.
Do trailers have the same sold as is as cars? Do they have to advise all damage when selling? We recently bought an older trailer and found more severe damage than we were told. Is there any recourse? What can we do?
typically, if you buy it off of Craigslist or from somebody who's selling it used, you're not going to get a warranty. It's going to be an as-is sale. No one's going to stand behind it, and it's kind of a buyer beware thing. You really ought to get
That happens anytime you buy a used item in the secondary market. You just,
Right.
you know, you have to spend the $100 or $200 to have
Right.
somebody inspect it.
Or
And
even
if it's-
$500 if it's a big
investment.
And,
Yeah.
and you know, some of these trailers have been rode hard and
put away wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, you got to be aware of what it is that you're buying.
Right.